Welcome back to the Hit and the Turnbuckle podcast. Royal Rumble 2025 is in the books, and we are going to do a quick hot take on the pay-per-view itself with the quick fire results and opinions from those results. And of course, your feedback from the poll that we put out on X earlier on today. For the majority of you, 50% of you that was, we thought it was good. 17% thought it was mid, and 23%, or 33%, I get my maths right, thought it was poor, which I think is quite, I kind of agree with. It isn't, I thought actually, to be fair, I thought it was an in between mid and good. There was some really bad bits that we'll get into very, very quickly. But you guys, yeah, you all thought in general that the pay-per-view was good. We are now on that road to WrestleMania 41. And to be fair to the WWE, there is still a lot of questions to be answered on the men's side of things, really. More so than anything else. There's some controversy as well. We'll touch on that very, very shortly in regards to something that happened in the men's Royal Rumble and subsequently someone storming out of the venue. Not a very happy person. And from all intensive purposes, from what we have heard, legit stormed out of the building. Pissed off, I think was the word that come out. But look, let's just start things off with the women's Royal Rumble. That was the first match on the card and pretty uneventful, really, if you ask me. A couple of nice things. Lovely to see Alexa Bliss back. She was kind of in between character. She had a nice little shout out to the Fiend on her jacket. She did bring the doll with her to rings to when she come out, but she was kind of in between characters, her old character and the character that she played with Bray. So it's still undetermined for me as to where she ends up, or as in character wise, does she go with the Wyatt Six? I mean, in terms of star power, they need Alexa Bliss. I think they need Alexa Bliss more than Alexa Bliss needs them, if I'm being totally honest on that side of things. But she did return at the Royal Rumble. Jordan Grace from NXT, NXT TNA. We knew that was happening. There's no doubt about it. She was already signed to the WWE. She did make the whole thing. It was her mum's birthday at the weekend, and she wouldn't be there. I think everybody kind of knew that Jordan Grace was indeed going to be there. It was great to see her. She's obviously not decided, I suppose, where she's going to go in terms of will she be on NXT, will she be on Raw, will she be on SmackDown? It's an interesting one, that one, because I've kind of thought that was going to denote WrestleMania because we spoke on here before about potentially Jordan Grace could go against Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania if she's on Raw. If she's on NXT, I mean, there is a stacked card down there on NXT. And speaking of NXT, Stephanie Vaquer and Julia, the two that come up, they didn't really do a lot in this year, and it worries me. And that does worry me because we all know that NXT call ups to the main roster don't well historically haven't worked, and that was under the Vince McMahon regime and under the Triple H regime. Um, if the Royal Rumble is anything to go by, I mean, you got your best two women, really. Three if you count Roxanne, but Roxanne was an exception. She was free and she lasted until the end. There was an exception there. But in terms of the actual, Stephanie and Julia's thing in the Rumble, it just weren't that great. They got eliminated fairly quickly, pretty much like the whole Royal Rumble itself, fairly uneventful. Number 30 in the women's Royal Rumble was the returning Nikki Bella. Now, was that a one-shot thing? We heard that she may want to come back and do some more. She's ready for a return. Does she need the money? I don't know. She just went through a divorce. We know that she historically has an issues with her neck. So how is that going to work? May she? And again, just thinking off the top of my head, because there was obviously talk on social. Certainly, Chelsea Green has made a point of saying about Total Divas coming back, and I just wonder whether that would potentially look for Nikki Bella, Chelsea Green at WrestleMania. Nikki Bella didn't go on to win the Rumble, by the way, and more on that in a minute. Yeah, Nikki Bella returning, they look good again. The women's Royal Rumble was just very uneventful for me personally, and subsequently the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble, Charlotte Flair, WWE's walking hard on. It just baffles me. We knew she was coming back. We knew she was going to win the Rumble. Sorry, we knew she was coming back at the Royal Rumble, and it just felt like to me the WWE was like, "Oh, Charlotte Flair's coming back. We better get her back in that main event picture." I don't understand it. It was the thing like with Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné, but I'm gonna call it. I don't understand it. Charlotte Flair is good, definitely good, no doubt about that. But she just like the last time she come back on SmackDown when she returned from her last hiatus, she come back and won the title on the same show. And I was like, well, surely that's Vince's booking. I was a bit, maybe that was Vince. Man, I'm sure it was Vince who was in charge at that point. And yet she just walks back in after obviously getting some facial work done. There's no doubt about that. And like I said, it was like Triple H now gets the hard on over her and like, oh, she better go in and she better go and go for the championship. What championship? We don't know. Do we really want to see Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley free? I know it's one each in the series. They could go down that route and do the rubber match, so to speak. Do we really? I mean, Charlotte Flair, Tiffany Stratton. Again, the match will be great. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I'm just bored. I'm already bored of Charlotte Flair, 14-time world champion. Is this just a thing so she beats her dad's title, the amount of titles that he's won so that she becomes the greater Flair? We kind of envisage Cena winning the world title so that he eclipses Ric Flair's record. We assuming that Charlotte Flair's going down that route. Maybe WWE want to get there very, very quickly. But I'm just bored of the same shit. And it's just like, well, she's going to win it and then she's going to drop it again, take another 6 weeks. I don't know. What's she going to do next? Get lip filler, come back and win the title again. And Triple H gets his hard on again because she's back. And then I'm just sick of Charlotte Flair. I'm sick of Mercedes Moné. I'm sick of Charlotte Flair. I kind of was a bit disappointed Becky Lynch didn't come back at the Royal Rumble. There was rumors of that. Again, though, that's very samey. Would she come back and win it? And then we go to that row again. It just bores me with the same. Listen, the WWE men's result has got a lot of dislikes on social media, but I'm going to get into why I like that result in a minute. Charlotte Flair eliminated Roxanne Perez. And again, it was the obvious thing. Like you saw the last few people in that ring and you were just like, oh, this is Charlotte Flair's. And it was. And there was no shock value. A bit different to the men's one. And again, we'll get into that in a minute. But Charlotte Flair winning the Royal Rumble for me is just a piss take, an absolute piss take. And she's going to go on. She may well, would it surprise me if she wins the title at WrestleMania? Absolutely not. Like I said, I didn't agree with that whatsoever. So many women deserved it. Every other woman near enough in that Royal Rumble, maybe Nikki Bella aside, and that's not a disrespect for Nikki Bella. She hasn't been there for a few years, but nearly every other woman in that Royal Rumble deserved that shot more than what she does. But nevertheless, like I said, just a walking hard on for WWE, and they all go, and she'll probably go on a WrestleMania. You can bookmark this now. She'll go on a WrestleMania and win the title once again, and we'll be living in the world of Charlotte Flair again. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers. Anyway, let's get on from that. The tag team match itself, it was probably the quickest 2 out of 3 full tag matches I've ever seen in my life. And I think it denotes what I've been saying recently. You had DIY, Motor City Machine Guns, 2 great teams, and they put on a really good match for the majority, for the limited time that they had. They put on a really good match. The problem is with these two, and I would say it every time they come out, crickets, you don't hear the crowd response. The crowd don't seem like they don't care less about the, and I just wonder if that played into it. You had 60 odd thousand, it was nowhere near 70, Michael Cole. I don't know where you got 70,000. Maybe if you counted the staff and people that were there, perhaps 70, but it was 60 odd thousand. And it was crickets. It was crickets, and crickets for these teams. And like I said, these two are probably two of the most legit tag teams you're going to get in the WWE. And yet, I don't know whether the crowd were just deflated after it. But well, in saying that, even if they was, even on SmackDown, they get nothing from the crowd. And I just wonder if that played into the WWE's thing. Obviously, the timing issue as well, because you had another Royal Rumble to come and you had Kevin and Cody, which we'll get into in a minute. So you kind of had all of that on top of the tag match. And I just think you know, I would have just saved it for Smack. To be quite honest with you, you didn't even need this. I mean, Gunter didn't defend his world title, which I think he should have done. You know, you didn't even have the Intercontinental Championship. I get there's a Royal Rumble in there. Braun Breaker didn't defend. Shinsuke Nakamura didn't defend. They were both in the men's Royal Rumble. Gunter wasn't even on the show. You've got a world champion at the Royal Rumble, not even on the show. You could have put the Motor City Machine Guns and the Street Profits in the Royal Rumble. You could have saved that 2 out of 3 falls match for SmackDown. You could have had Gunter defend it against somebody, and he comes out on top. I know he defended it on Saturday night's main event a couple of weeks ago, but you had no women's world championships defended on the show. You had Rhea Ripley and Tiffany Stratton doing nothing. They could have done something. It just felt like it just wasn't needed. It was a good tag match for what it's worth. The Street Profits coming in and costing the Motor City Machine Guns the championships at the same time, fighting with DIY. So you're going to get a 3-4 team mix there eventually, which is going to be great to see. But was it needed on the card? For me, no. You world championships need to be. You're going 2 Royal Rumbles where the men's and the women's Royal Rumble, where the winner of this goes to WrestleMania to choose for a championship. At least have your fucking titles defended. They only had one other match, which, as I said, was Cody and Kevin. Now, I can appreciate the time limit here with both Royal Rumbles. This is why, in my opinion, the WWE need to, and I hate to say it, move the Royal Rumble to 2 nights. You can have the women's Royal Rumble one night, and you can have the women's matches on. You could literally have a whole night of the women. You could have the women's championships being defended and the women's Royal Rumble, and you can do the same for the men the next night because then you got the time limit, you got enough time to give it, and such and such what. But yeah, listen, it was a great tag match for what we got for it. The crowd just didn't give a shit, and that's just epitomised the Motor City Machine Guns and DIY, to be quite honest with you. Anyway, let's move on to Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens in the World Championship match, ladder match for the world title. Storyline has been great. These two absolutely delivered. It was a hard-hitting ladder match. It ticked all the boxes for me. Did I think Kevin Owens would ever win that match? Absolutely not. Didn't think in a million Sundays that he would go on and win the match. And we was proved right. Cody Rhodes did indeed win that match. Sami Zayn did come out. There was no real kind of he didn't really do much in the match in terms of did he go to hit Cody Rhodes? No, but the match delivered in every area that it needed to deliver on. It was great. Kevin Owens busted open. They were going through ladder after ladder after ladder. There were so many great moves in this match. Kevin Owens with that suplex bomb onto the ladder as well. It was fantastic. And then at the end of the match, Cody Rhodes doing the Alabama slam off of the table through a ladder, and Kevin Owens goes down with the ladder. The ladder breaks. Kevin Owens goes through it as well. Sami Zayn goes to check on him, but it allowed Cody Rhodes to pick up the win and retain his title, which was never really in doubt, to be quite honest with you. But delivered a brilliant, brilliant match. The story behind it was great as well. Kevin Owens wearing the son of a, I can't remember what it was on his t-shirt, but it was great. The question really is, where does Kevin Owens go from here with WrestleMania? What does he do? Because obviously Cody's going to have a match against someone at Mania. It won't be against Kevin Owens. This feud is finished now. Where does it go from here for Kevin Owens? And that is a great, great question. Where do we go? He's delivered. He's delivered countless times from the WWE. He's been their kind of right-hand guy, so to speak. He was never going to win the title, but he put on a great effort. And we'll see what happens with him. We'll see what happens with Cody coming up. And we're very quickly moving on to the men's Royal Rumble match. Now, this was, I have to say, star-studded, yes. Shock value, yes. And even if people didn't like it, there is definitely a shock value in what they've done with the men's Royal Rumble. Now, before we get to all that, let's take a look at some notable names that come in. Well, as Tozawa was coming out, he was attacked by Carmelo. He was taken out, so Tozawa didn't get in, and they replaced that with ISHO fucking Speed, who I couldn't give 2 fucks about, to be quite honest with you. In the end, he helped Braun Breaker get Otis out, and then Braun Breaker speared the fuck out of him, which I wish he could have done that and speared the fuck out of him full stop. He then threw him out the ring. He landed on Otis. Otis then threw him over the announce table, and that was ISHO Speed's Royal Rumble. Some other notable names. In there, the TNA World Heavyweight Champion Joe Hendry come in for a cup of coffee, literally, 3 minutes. Unfortunately, he was in the ring at the point of the same as the OTC Roman Reigns and a lot of other star-studded guys. He lasted around 3 minutes, which, if I'm honest, is a bit of a kick in the teeth for me. If the TNA World Heavyweight Champion comes in the Royal Rumble, he gets a huge response from the crowd. To have him in there for 3 minutes doesn't work well for me. Penta was in there for 40 minutes. We kind of heard on the new, the report saying that he was going to have a brilliant Royal Rumble. He certainly did. He was number two. Rey Mysterio was number one. So that even started. Could that have started something there? I don't know. But they were in there for a period of time. Ludwig Kaiser was in and out quicker than Braun Breaker. There wasn't really other note. One name's Finn Balor come back for this as well. I don't think this Royal Rumble, the men's Royal Rumble, needed the shock, the surprise factor. It had, like, in terms of people who was going to come in, it had enough big names in there: Roman, Cena, Punk, Rollins, you know, everyone like that. So it had enough name value in there for them not to need a lot of outsiders coming in on it. Now, the thing with this one is this is a good. WWE got it massively wrong, in my opinion, for the women's match. The WWE hit the shock factor very well on this. So let's clear up the controversy first. So Drew McIntyre gets eliminated in this by Damian Priest. Along the way, they bump into Logan Paul, who was 30, LA Knight, who was 29. They kind of bumped into them as they threw out McIntyre. Now, the controversy has happened here is McIntyre has gone backstage legitimately pissed off, was shouting about somebody was getting all their moves in, and basically somebody was getting themselves over without telling the stories in this match. And subsequently, McIntyre has then walked out of the WWE's Royal Rumble in a foul mood, pissed off, legitimately pissed off. Again, more, I suppose we're going to hear and see more of this potentially as the hours unfold here to find out what's going on with Drew McIntyre. But he was not happy about this in a Royal Rumble. I don't know. I don't quite know. I suppose when you're not in there and you're not, when you're watching it, you don't really tell. He's like, oh, he got eliminated. Oh, shit, that's a big elimination for Damian Priest. But there's more to this than meets the eye, and hopefully we'll find out a bit more. Could it be a big work? Could this all just be a massive work? Absolutely, it certainly could. But nevertheless, let's get to the surprise factor. Now, there was a point on here where Seth and Roman were going at it. CM Punk eliminates both Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. Literally straight after that, Logan Paul eliminates CM Punk, which just leaves in the ring John Cena, Logan Paul, Jey Uso. Now, Seth Rollins is out there on the ring. They're fighting outside Roman, Punk, and Rollins. Rollins absolutely annihilates Roman Reigns. He stomps him onto the steel stairs. During the Rumble, Seth Rollins did stomp both Roman and CM Punk at the set as well. But those three were having their sort of bit on the outside of the ring. Now, the big thing here is at this point, even I'm pissed off because I'm thinking you've made it so obvious that Charlotte Flair's winning this match, like the women's one. Now it's seemingly obvious that John Cena is winning the men's Royal Rumble. So I was a bit pissed about that initially. They eliminate Logan Paul. By the way, Jacob Fatu had a good Royal Rumble as well, but again, it just felt weak with him being eliminated the way that he was. Let's get back into this. Logan Paul gets eliminated. He was on top of John Cena for the AA. Jey Uso super kicks him against the ropes. John Cena throws him out. Then it's down to Cena and Jey. And again, you're thinking, here we go. It's John Cena. They're going to do some sort of finish where Cena wins. And they're fighting on the apron, fighting on the apron, fighting on the apron. On the outside here, John Cena goes to AA him. At this point, I think he's just going to AA him and that's it. As John Cena goes to AA, Jey Uso transitions, goes in the ring and pushes John Cena off the apron to win the 2025 Men's Royal Rumble. For me, I was massively shocked about that. I was shocked, surprised, but I loved it because that is different booking. There is not one person in there, and I know Jey Uso's Royal Rumble victory's got about 12,000 dislikes on WWE's social media platform, but there is not one person there. And I'm begging you, if you did think this, come forward. That when you saw the final three, that you thought that Jey Uso was going to win that Royal Rumble. You, no way. I'm sorry, and I just, yeah, can't believe that you would ever think that when you saw those last three in the ring. But Jey Uso wins the Royal Rumble, and now this picks up so many questions. John Cena's already said he's going into the Elimination Chamber. That's He said that at the post show, so he's going in. Is Jey Uso going to go after Gunther one more time? He's lost three against Gunther. Does he go for it again? Or does he choose Cody Rhodes? Then you've got the three other guys, Punk, Rollins, and Reigns. With them going at it the way that they were, are we looking at a triple threat match at WrestleMania? CM Punk versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. Are we looking at that? Potentially. We could be. That's another great question. Obviously, the Cena question's kind of been answered because we're over there. So that leads those three. So there's a bit of intrigue there. Logan Paul eliminates CM Punk. I mean, I'm sure Punk's going to have a lot to think about from there and a lot to say about Logan Paul eliminating him as well. So you've got that aspect to it too. So there's a lot of questions to be answered on the men's side. The women's side couldn't give a shit about because the winner of the Royal Rumble was totally wrong. So there's intrigue there. There's interest there. That's where we got to go for Monday Night Raw now. We've got to follow up on this. Obviously, the Drew McIntyre situation, we need to get that looked into in a bit more detail as Raw hits us on tomorrow night. So there is a lot to go through that side. Not so much on the women's side. But overall, the Royal Rumble was good, if not spectacular. But it does leave us with a lot of questions to be answered. So this was the Royal Rumble hot take on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. Coming up this week on the show, we finish off season 1 of Independent Showcase with United Wrestling. Season 2's filming of season 2 of Independent Showcase begins this week. Looking forward to sharing that season with you in March. Daisy Kill on the NWA side, that interview drops this week as well. We should be having another NWA showcase this week. This coming Wednesday, we should be sitting down, hopefully recording with another NWA star. More on that as I can once we've really finished it. To be quite honest with you, and also coming up this week on Wednesday as well, the Chapter 4 preview of Ignite Wrestling. Ignite is back this time next week. We will be there as well, so make sure you are too. But until then, everybody, keep following us at HTT Buckle on X, HTT Buckle on YouTube, Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. And until tomorrow, no, Tuesday, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, goodbye.